Hello everyone watching at home, you're with Adelaide Eternal and we're bringing you our monthly tournaments. This time it's vintage. You're in the booth with Sarven McLinton and next to me I have Beckett Wolfe.
G'day guys.
So today we're looking at a matchup between Brendan Dobson and Karl Reeves. So let's have a quick look at Brendan Dobson's player profile. He has 3 wins in our challenges and he's especially known for his Legacy and Highlander jams. And he's going to be bringing something pretty nice and spicy to us in Vintage. He's trying to break in and get his Vintage win. So let's have a look at his list.
It's classic Brendan, isn't it?
Yeah, this is good. He finds a good card and he builds around it.
Is this his own homebrew stuff?
Yeah. So he said, is Enlightened Tutor restricted in this format? And I'm like, no, it's not. And he goes, I'm going to build a deck around it. And it's so good. This the Enlightened Tutor gets to find probably one of the most powerful cards in the format currently, which is Moat, because it basically shuts off mentor players unless they can find their Singleton Fragmentize in the main deck if they're playing it. It shuts off Eldrazi players at game 1 until they get their disenchants in from the board. And it can shut off just obscure strategies of your opponents.
I lost in Vintage recently to Junk mid-range. Krasali Pride Mages, Thalias.
So good.
So there's definitely creatures out there now.
That's it.
This list is sweet. It's got a bit of a lands vibe to it as well. It's got 2 crop rotations. It's running the new Solemnity and Phyrexian Unlife combo.
Both of which can be fetched by Enlightened Tutor.
Both of which can be fetched. So it's got that package. Cheeky little Spirit of the Labyrinth. And yeah, then he's got the Dark Depths combo as well, which I think goes well with the Solemnity, if I'm not mistaken. So,
well, unless they have Swords to Play Ushers, it's really hard to deal with the Dark Depths token, isn't it? Because, Jace Bounce doesn't work if it's at the end of their turn with a crop rotation. And he's also got the Life from the Loam package in there too, which is really sweet. It's sweet in other formats, and you don't get to see it in Vintage, but I reckon that if he gets that engine online against some of the Vintage decks that are really streamlined and want to power out really quick wins, he'll be able to just grind. And
he's also running blue, so he's got all the classic
stuff.
Time Call 4/4, and Treasure Cruise Dig. So he's got, he's still got that very classic vintage basis.
And I think as long as I have known Brendan, he is always jamming Spirit of the Labyrinth, Guy Reach Sanitarium.
It, doesn't it?
It's so good. It's so good. So we haven't seen it in Vintage yet, and I reckon that if there was someone to find a way to, break Enlightened Tutor in this format, it's going to be Brendan.
That's it. Shall we get to Karl's list?
All right, let's switch over to Karl. So Karl is on Burning Long, which is an old school deck. It's basically a hybrid between Storm and Oath. And you're a famous Oath player, Beckett.
Well, I like Oath a lot. I've actually played against Karl and this list a little while back at Eternal Weekends in Melbourne. And I played against this list and we had a really good game. And yeah, it was very interesting because we both got the awkwards. And I think we both had Oath out and we were both just trying to give each other awkward tokens. But look, the deck's sweet because obviously the awkward token, you only need 2 cards, Oath and awkward, so it's not that hard to just shove into a list. And because you're running Storm, you get to run stuff like Dark Ritual, and you can actually just hard cast a big fatty because you Dark Ritual into Grizzlebrand.
Actually cast him with a bunch of rocks.
And also Storm goes really, really well with having a big graveyard. So he's running 4 Burning Wish, which fetches the Yawgmoth's Will, which is in sideboard. And at first glance you think, why is Yawgmoth in sideboard? It's the best card in his deck. Well, it's because he actually wants 4 copies of it in his main deck to search it up. And if he triggers the Oath, gets a massive graveyard, then he can do that. So
I'm always a big fan of decks that can play 2 roles, and this one, because Stony Silence has become really popular in the format because Paradoxical Outcome is around, and you get Mentor decks running Stony Silence and so on. This deck has that alternate strategy of just using Oath instead of trying to actually combo out with its rocks.
That's it. So heaps of mana as well to power out a Grizzlebrand. Hardcast Grizzlebrand is a real threat in this deck. Real threat.
I wonder if we'll see it.
All right, let's get down to the games, man.
All right, I'm liking the look of Spirit of the Labyrinth in this format, in this matchup, except for the fact that if Burning Longs are going to go off on turn 1 and is on the play, it's going to be a big issue for Brendan.
Scary, isn't it? And how do you sideboard against Burning Long? I mean, geez, but I'm always terrified against Storm because they win turn 1 so often. They really can. They really can win turn 1. It's if they're doing it, they're probably going in pretty deep and not playing around force. Brendan's got forces, so
true.
I think maybe even if Karl had the hand for it, he wouldn't necessarily go for it turn 1, game 1. I hope I don't look like an idiot here, but
in the blind, where
in
you
the
think
blind,
if you
that's
get
it.
stopped by a force. So that's a hand with Duress and Forbidden Orchard and
Mana Confluence. So he's got
and this is a hand with Stony Silence in it,
Ooh.
and Ancestral Recall and Crop Rotation,
And
Force of Will,
and Acol as well.
So he might end up
yeah.
having to pitch that Force of Will pitching the best card in his hand.
Yeah, I hope not.
Let's see what happens. If this game goes longer than the turn 1,
Okay, well, there's
the
Duress,
Duress is going to be big here.
And Karl's running 4 Duresses. I really like Duress. Proactive way. Why run Force of Wills when you can run Duress?
Yeah, that's it. So Brendan here is electing to decline pitching Ancestral Recall because basically Karl is going to either take the Force of Will because he wants to combo out on turn 1, or he's going to take the Ancestral Recall. Or there's always, like he does, takes Ancestral Recall, or there's always the chance that he takes one of the other pieces.
Well, that's a relief for Brendan, because if Karl takes the Force there, then Brendan's thinking,
terrified.
I've lost.
But this way he gets to start with Crop Rotation. I don't know what's in his deck that he can fetch out on turn 1. It's not the kind of game where you want to get a
Glacial Chasm or
cheeky
something.
Glacial Chasm or Tabernacle or something like that, because it's not going to be a creature situation at the moment. But he's gonna try and not necessarily. Oh, here we go. All right, so it's a Brainstorm turn 2. And I don't know whether or not Karl had a second land or a fetch land in hand.
I know he's got the Orchid, but I don't know if he's got a fetch land.
So normally I'm really, really keen to leverage Brainstorm the later you go into the game. However, Burning Long is a good example of a deck where you can proverbially throw the Brainstorm away early game because your whole plan is to do something crazy early game. You just want to dig those extra cards deeper and then go crazy this turn. If, however, he doesn't play a fetch land here and puts away cards, then yes, the Brainstorm would, by a Legacy player's standard, be thrown away.
Well, there's only one, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be careful. But you also got, if you want to use it. Feel free to use your Brainstorms, guys.
I'm on the other side.
Don't
of
be
the fence.
too
Never
precious.
use Brainstorm. Just you
it's so good.
You finish the game and
it.
you win, and Brainstorm's still in your hand. So is he going to play the Orchard here? No. So it's Confluence. So it looks like he's going to be trying to combo out here, obviously, because he knows there's a Stony Silence in hand for Brendan. And
that's a really good
he's
point.
He's going to have to use his stuff.
It's a really good point. But he's passed here. But he's played the LED. Why has he played the LED?
I'm not sure. So this is a Crop Rotation, end of turn. Because basically, for those at home, you can't actually use LED for one card in your hand. It doesn't work that way. The card has to be on the stack before you actually crack the LED. So it's not like he can represent, say, Hardcast, Mindbreak Trap, and pitch his hand. It doesn't work that way.
It's essentially... I had an argument with a guy online about that, and he tried doing that, but it's essentially good when you're searching. So you play your search spell, your tutor, and then you crack LED, and then
look at this sequencing. Oh, for those of you who haven't played around with the slow tutors before, this is end of Karl's turn. Brendan used Crop Rot to rot away his land and gets another land, which is Tundra, because he needs to have the white to power out a Stony Silence next turn.
Oh, and it's coming untapped.
And it comes in untapped, so he uses that to slow tutor with ET still at the end of turn,
wow.
which is pretty sweet. So he's finding Phyrexian Unlife here, which is a modern card. It's this
played in Ad Nauseam Modern, but what's the reason? Does he know Karl's on Storm and he wants to... I mean, you have to assume he's on Storm if you see LED. Does Phyrexian Unlife go well against the Tendrils?
Well, it's kind of like saying you need 25 Storm to kill me, right? But I'm not sure on the interaction of exactly what happens with once you get hit and then you start losing life for the infect damage. How does that work?
Well, the loss of life won't actually kill you.
Cause you to...
Because you can only... Phyrexian Unlife says you can only lose to poison counters, essentially. That's not quite what it says, but you can only lose to poison counters. So
and loss of life doesn't cause
loss
poison
of life doesn't cause poison counters.
Yeah, that's quite interesting that
really
it actually works
Storm.
against tendrils. So obviously Brendan's seen the LED and gone, well, you're probably on some kind of storm list.
Which is why I'm confused why Karl played it, because surely even if LED is dead now, that Stony Silence is out, save it up and it's just a storm count.
Yeah,
right?
and you get to put it away with Brainstorm.
That's a really good point.
That's
a really good point. And he did just Brainstorm as well.
Yeah, Brainstorm's already gone now. So the Stony Silence being out, this is actually the exact thing we were talking about, wasn't it? The fact that Burning Long gets around the Stony Silence because it's got the Orchard Oath combo, but we don't actually have an Orchard here, do we?
But he's electing to give a 1/1, which is really interesting. I wouldn't be giving 1/1s unless I had the Oath. So this tells me Karl's got the Oath in hand.
Yeah, well, if he's got the Oath, then it's pretty much GG's, right? But
pretty close.
Yeah,
to it. But that's the beauty of the deck, is it's got those angles, right?
We'll see in a second here. Yeah, it's 2 mana, and that's some life lost off the Mystic Confluence, but I'm pretty sure... it's a Time Walk. Okay. Yeah, this is... And he already knows the next card because he brainstormed, remember?
Yeah.
So this is... It's probably a bad sign, but let's see exactly what happens. So essentially, Brainstorm didn't get value and Time Walk didn't get value. So he's just trying to dig deeper and find a relevant card, which he's not going to have because he knows what this card is. So it's going to basically be a pass turn, isn't it? Unless that card he put back is so important.
If you had Oath in hand, you'd play the Oath there and then want a Time Walk once you've got a Grizzlebrand out.
Yeah. So something's being cast. We'll find out what it is. It's 3.
Necro.
It was Necro. I mean, then yes, it's an issue. But Windfall.
Right.
All right.
I haven't seen that
Stormcount
card in a
is
while.
1. Yeah. Remember that the slow tutors don't add cards to your hand, so actually it's it's moot anyway because we're forcing it. This is really a bad sign for Karl because he was actually willing to Windfall here. He was willing to throw away the hand that he has, but he's stuck with it now. So
is that maybe why he Time Walked? Because
he needed to get an extra land to actually Windfall?
Well, or he just figured if he Windfalls, he loses the Time Walk. So he might as well play a 0 mana cycle, right?
Yeah, and just get an extra
just try
land
to
drop.
hit a land drop. Explore, which is good if your Windfall resolves, I guess.
I guess the awkward part is that he's given the win con to
Say
Brendan.
the awkward part?
Awkward part. Yeah, the awkward part is he's given a win con to Brendan already by giving him 2 spirit tokens, and I know you're very familiar with that scenario.
I hate it.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing in the world.
You can't play the control game, can you? It's so rough.
Nah. And so many of these combo decks have that control basis, which again is another reason I like Karl's list, because it's not a control deck.
Yeah.
He's not running Force of Will.
He's not running Jace the Mind Skull.
It's a double combo deck.
Yeah.
So that's why he's able to play Mana Confluence, but he's got to go hard, and you still got to be careful. So I wouldn't have given Brendan the Orchid. I would have just paid the 1 life with Mana Confluence, because you pay 1 life now, but
yeah, you can always give a token later, right?
You can always give a token later, because the token's going to do more than 1 damage. So
that's it. And this damage is adding up. I mean,
it's
the
real.
tokens have attacked for 4, and he's actually taken a lot of pain from his lands. So,
and he'll take more, won't he?
Yeah, and this would all be moot. You know, we always talk about life being a resource. It's all moot when you're going to Windfall into an even better hand, and you're going to do something crazy and just try and find an Forbidden Orchard. Oath. But he hasn't been able to do that. That Force of Will.
Well,
was
Karl
almost
knew
systematic.
that Brendan had a Force in hand.
Yes, he was just hoping that there wasn't a blue card.
Yeah, he yes and no, because he knows Brandon's got a Force in hand, but he knows there's no other blue cards. Is that correct? So
yes,
and he hasn't.
And it was a slow tutor.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So to be fair, it's fair. Yeah, it's fair to think that there won't be a blue, but when you know there's a Force, it's also a bit. Yeah. You certainly don't want to go all in one basket with that one.
Totally fair, and obviously. This is a scenario where you go like, I wish I had Brainstorm.
Well, the other thing is, I think Brendan's looking pretty good here, because Stony Silence has really ruined... The beautiful thing about Storm is, I've played the Perfect Storm, and so many times you think you've lost, and then you just draw Lotus. Or you just draw Yawgmoth.
Your out is...
Or you just draw like Acor or Treasure Cruise, and there's just so many outs that you didn't think about. And you go, oh, that's right. If I Mind's Desire, I can do it. Or something like that.
Well, he's giving another
Stony
token.
Silence is really
it's savage,
crushing.
Isn't it? Here's the Oath. And Flusterstorm doesn't
won't
work.
do it. No, it's instants and
Yeah,
sorceries.
Flusterstorm doesn't work. I think they're just explaining that scenario now.
He's talking about... Brendan seems to be discussing the...
Yeah, Brendan's like, hang on, I can't actually do this.
Oh, no. Hang on, and now Karl's reading it. Good.
Yeah, that would have been...
I was thinking, is that
another
spell pierce?
Forbidden awkward. Another forbidden awkward.
Another forbidden awkward. So he can't Flizzleflom.
No Flizzleflom.
But Flizzleflom's good if he's got another counter.
Oh yeah, Flizzleflom's always great. So he's going to be attacking for 3 here, but it's really not going to be enough. So we need something like a Time Walk.
Can he? Yeah. Gets in for 3, takes card of 5.
Grizzlebrand can't trigger.
Yeah, it must be frustrating.
Yeah, it's close. And I didn't see his hand. Obviously, it's not Time Walk, but I didn't see his hand. This is going to be interesting. So he's going to trigger.
Karl must have ripped that oath because why? Let's go back a few turns. Yeah. Why would he play? Why would he play Time Walk when he had Oath? Yeah, and why would he play Windfall when he's got Oath?
This is probably going to... Because
if the Stony Silence is out, he can't win off Storm, right? He has to win off Oath. So you wouldn't certainly want to Windfall the Oath.
Absolutely. So yeah, it was a sick rip. Here we get Grizzlebrand, which can't be activated. So and remember, he can't Storm as well. Not with that Stony Silence out. It's just not going to work.
Probably not. Is what we really mean by that.
I mean, you can do some bizarre chain of Dark Rituals and then...
You could York Moths and, I don't know.
I say it would be, Dark Rit and then play your rocks, but don't use them, and then Tendrils, just to gain some life. Then you can use Grizzlebrand's power. It's all pretty sketchy.
It is pretty sketchy.
But either way, you got a 7/7 flying lifelink in play.
Brendan's one problem with Brendan's list, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it's not as explosive. Because I'm thinking,
it's a fair list for vintage standards.
Vintage, you never know what's going to happen. But I'm trying to think. Karl swings in for 7, goes to 12, gets beaten down again to 9. Brendan's untapped. You think, there's a chance, but looking at the list, there's not.
But remember, he does have that Phyrexian Unlife in hand.
He does.
He does. And if he assembles Phyrexian Unlife Solemnity combo...
Karl will eventually get to quite a lot of...
Oh, yes. But he's missed so many land drops here. And it's been really quite... difficult for Brendan to hit that third land drop, as we've seen.
You know what's bigger than a 7/7? A 20/20 Merit Large.
Yeah, an indestructible one. It's pretty good. Well, this will be interesting to see if Brendan does hit his third land drop in the course of the next couple of turns, he's still got outs, but that Grizzlebrand is going to be looming.
This is actually a really interesting game.
It's a lot tighter than it looks. Even though the Grizzlebrand's in play, it's a lot tighter. So bashing in, going to 12 apiece. Is that right?
12 apiece.
Yeah. And
so Brendan's got a little bit of time, but not a whole lot. But I mean, that's the thing about Vintage is now he's got to change gears. They've both completely changed gears now that Grizzlebrand's out.
So if you're Karl here, do you draw 7 cards? I assume the answer is no, because that puts you on pseudo 2. Because when the 3 guys attack back, it's going to be an issue.
And then you can't tap your orchids.
Yeah. However, you can't actually. You can't attack.
He's probably
even tap your other. You can't tap any of the lands.
Can't tap any of the
But he is the Enlightened Tutor.
Okay. What do you get?
Remember that he's been landlocked on 2 lands, so this is going to prevent him drawing his 3rd land, even if it was on top of the deck. But he can search for an enchantment that's.
But he's already got Unlife in it. But I guess Unlife doesn't win you the game.
It stops them winning the game, but it doesn't win you the game.
Well, it doesn't stop them.
With Solemnity. So he's finding Solemnity here. Is that right?
That makes sense. Solemnity is 3 mana, right? Yes. And it says counters can't be put on players?
Yeah, basically. On certain kinds of permanents, not planeswalkers, and players as well. So basically he can go next turn. So the turn after this, next turn, draw the 3rd land, and then play the Unlife, and then the following turn play Solemnity, and then he's immune to Grizzlebrand. But it's pretty magical.
He needs a land as well.
Yeah, it's
so
all about
he's got a Preordain or something here. I don't think he runs Preordain.
Dig Through Time. Oh, yeah.
Cruising.
Yeah.
Cruising for a bruise.
Cruise, yep. Yeah. So this is Cruise is obviously sorcery.
Yeah. So
he
he's untapped, drawn Solemnity,
drew Solemnity,
and now he's hitting his third land, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, if there's no third land here, that's savage. But
yeah, it is.
If you hit the third land, we've got a real game. There's a lot of potential.
When he's got Foster's on backup, as we know.
Yeah.
So if he can hit a third land and a fourth land, then he can play these with Fuzzleflom.
And he's pretty protected from, say, tendrils, for example, if it just doesn't work.
That's right.
So going to 9. And,
is that a pass?
Oh, is that not the third land?
Oh, that's a shame.
That's rough. Yeah, if there's no third land here, then it's basically game over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because obviously Stony Silence turns off his own jet. Or Emerald. But yeah, the third land would have kept this as a real game, but I think now it's pretty much nail in the coffin.
I'd agree. There's still a chance. I mean, he still draws land, takes 7, goes to 5, plays Unlife, takes 7...
goes to 2 poison.
Well, no, he doesn't go to 2 poison.
Oh, he goes to 0.
Because all damage happens at the same time. So he goes to -2, but then any damage after that will be poison counters.
Got it.
So he goes to 10 life, essentially, and then he plays Solemnity.
Yep.
So he's actually still got a chance if he can draw land here.
Was that an end of turn draw 7? Because obviously the life total was not 9.
Yes.
No, this is a main phase draw 7. So his life total is 2.
I suppose Karl's quite used to drawing 7 with his aggressively.
Yes, yeah.
Because he then just wins with Storm. I mean, I was about to say something pretty stupid, which is Storm's really good when you can draw 7 cards. I'd say most decks are pretty good when you can draw 7 cards. But Storm in particular.
Goes to 1. This is obviously, sorry, we forgot to account for the also 7 life gained this turn. the Grizzlebrand just stays tapped. Got it.
Time Walk, Flusterstorm.
Crop Rot, and Crucible of Worlds is pretty bad right now.
Surely take the Unlife, yeah. That's correct from Karl. Well played by Karl.
Yep, absolutely correct. I mean, it's the thing that allows your opponent an extra turn beyond the Time Walk that allows them an extra turn
That's
as well.
an extra 2 turns, really.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very good fog.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a fog with a combo.
So Storm count is 1, right? Because it's the duress. So, I mean, he can assemble just a mini tendrils here for the win.
Yeah, mini tendrils fine here.
Because you don't need to tap the rocks. If he can play Dark Ritual tendrils, then he wins. And it's a pretty linear decision. But we'll see if he's got the linear decision or not. All right, let's see. So it goes
I'm trying to
7.
think what outs Brennan has now.
There.
He's got a Time Walk in hand, so he can top
Burning
deck
Wish here is pretty much...
He can top deck a
GG's.
land, Time Walk, top deck Unlife.
Yep. Is there more than one Unlife in his deck? I'm pretty sure it's a whole bunch of singletons.
Damn.
You can't find tendrils here. Karl's looking for tendrils. Oh, well, he found the tendrils, but you can't win with it now. Right?
Yes.
He's got no mana floating.
He's got...
There's a bit of a misstep there. Because you don't find something that wins you the game next turn because it's irrelevant, because you can just attack with Grizzlebrand to win next turn. But you need to find something that wins you the game now, and...
Well, geez, doesn't Time Walk do it? Swing for 4.
I believe Time Walk is in the bin.
I thought Time Walk was
in sorry. You're talking about...
Brendan swings for 4. Time Walk swings for 4. So giving that Orchid just then is a massive misplay, because if he swung for 3,
Brendan's identified it.
If he swings for 3...
So is there a duress in Karl's sideboard? Because he could have Burning Wish for duress.
Wow, there it is.
That was...
I think that was a mistake.
That was a bit awkward.
He went for a bit too much there with his lands. He had the win on the board.
Yeah, you can literally just do nothing and win.
Yeah. We're going for too much. Going for too much with paying mana with Grizzlebrand.
Well, he gave a token and took 2 pain.
And took 7 pain from activating Grizzlebrand when you didn't really need to. I mean, look, I don't want to be too harsh on Karl.
You can still activate for 7.
I probably wouldn't.
I wouldn't, but I think it's totally fine too, because you could just find exactly Dark Ritual, of which you have multiples, and Tendrils, and Burning Wish, and then you can win the game.
Yeah. Look, not to be too harsh, because Storm does Grizzlebrand a lot more aggressively than my Oath list. So my instincts are, well, if I've got the win, I'm happy to just pay 7 in response to something to find Force of Will.
Yeah.
Or if I'm like so secure. But if life total is even, in contention, and especially in a scenario like that, because you do give them a bunch of 1/1s over the course of the game, then I won't pay 7 unless I have to.
No.
And
I totally understand that. I see why.
But
he
I
paid
think
7.
tapping
It's
the
not a
mana
problem.
was definitely...
It was, yeah. I think paying 7 wasn't a problem in this
and
scenario.
Burning Wish,
It was the fact that like casting the Burning Wish there makes you go down to 7 and gives your opponent lethal attackers.
And that there's
because
nothing you can get. It only hits sorceries, correct?
Yeah, it's all about like request from your opponent that you would wish to look at your sideboard now. So look at your sideboard, identify what you're actually going to wish for,
That's it.
and then go, hang on, like if I do this, I actually lose. So and then just
and he
choose
saw
not to
the
Burning
Time
Wish.
Walk as well.
Yeah,
and I was just about to say correct by taking the unlife, and I think it was correct to take the unlife to stop the combo
absolutely.
win.
I completely agree.
But then, yeah, definitely not wishing. So that's a shame, but a very interesting game nonetheless.
Yeah.
And
yeah, absolutely. In sideboards, who do you think is favoured? Because Brendan's deck is quite hateful. I mean, he's got main deck hate.
I'd have to say Brendan. I mean, look, anytime the Storm player in any format, it's got to be post sideboard, is favoured to the opponent, because Storm is explosive. It's just so good that you can't really have many mainboard answers to it. Or a mass amount of mainboard answers.
And like a typical Storm deck, most of your sideboard is filled with cards that fight against the hate from
He's got 4
shops.
Ancient Tomb
Because Ancient Tomb is really good against shops to actually still be able to do combos and actually be able to cast your spells, and most of all, actually be able to cast your own Hercule's Recall. But because you always feel like you're one turn behind. But the other issue is because his sideboard is predominantly against shops. Next to it, he's got the Burning Wish package, which actually reduces his sideboard to kind of like 11 cards. So it's against anyone. Burning Long is way better game 1, and then game 2 when you end up you realise that your sideboard is actually quite a lot smaller than your opponent's. Whoever's got a full-size sideboard ends up having a tiny little edge, and in this situation I think Brendan has the edge.
Definitely.
So they've just shuffled up, or they're just about to shuffle up, and this will be Brendan on the draw, which severely changes our prediction.
Yeah, look, regardless of all that we said about sideboards, Storm can still win turn 1. So
yeah, Burning Lung going off now, turn 1, is entirely within the realm of plausibility and quite consistent. So we might have a look. So that hand has a Stony Silence on the far right, the one with the incorrect art, and so Brendan's hand is probably going to be really good if he gets to turn 2 or has a Mox, but I think Karl's, the likelihood of him comboing off on turn 1 is quite high. So this hand is a Nature's Claim and some 5-color lands.
I think I saw a Demonic Tutor there on his far left as well.
This one's Glacial Chasm. Eidolon of Rhetoric is in there. So unfortunately it costs 3 instead of 2 from either Swan Canvas, but it's still definitely a powerhouse against Storm decks. The problem is trying to actually get it down on turn 1. Sometimes you just wish you had a Mindbreak Trap. But in this deck, it's really good. Yeah, and in this situation, we actually...
Another sigh of relief.
That single pass is enough for Brendan to get breathing room, because I think the advantage meter was on Karl at like 80% to win, being on the play, and now it's gone down to 50-50 again.
I'd say less, yeah. If we get a pass here from Karl... Isn't it interesting that, like, you can foresee, just based on the decks, that you can just foresee pass here, and suddenly the percentages change dramatically. You ever watch Poker Sarve, and they've got the little percentages?
Percentage win percentage.
As the cards get flipped, they flip the flop and they flip the river, and the calculator changes everyone's percentage.
Yeah.
It sort of reminds me of that, I think, every time we pass turn here.
Oh, well, this is actually a really good sign for... the advantage meter again changed towards Brendan again, because if Karl is using up his turn 2 to DT and doesn't have fast mana, that Stony Silence is coming out of hand on Brendan's side.
Exactly right. Demonic Tutor. Look, for all Brendan knows, the hand could be full of mana-producing rocks.
Yeah.
But Stony Silence just totally stifles it. And the Stony Silence coming down turn 2 will do some work.
And Karl's hand is reactive. He's got a Nature's Claim in it. So it has less density to actually storm out with.
But it can claim the Stony Silence.
Yeah, it sure can claim the Stony Silence, and that does change things a lot.
But I think the later we go, the more
the longer.
advantage.
Yeah, exactly right.
So if we're trading cards like that, then
yeah. So Brendan, does he have a second land? I hope so, because then we have a real game. If he doesn't, it's going to be a bad. It's not going to be.
Or
a
he's
game
got
anymore. Crop Rot.
But what does Crop Rot?
Get a different color mana. No,
he's got Glacial Chasm.
Let's see. He's got Chasm, so you can Crop Rot away the Chasm.
Nice.
Just to get rid of it because you don't want it. But there's times where you do want it. There's definitely times where your opponent has
empty the Warrens.
It's got some dudes. It also stops, Grizzlebrand, because for some reason Grizzlebrand can't fly over a chasm. It's not how things work in Magic.
That's a really good point.
He can fly over a moat, but he can't fly over a chasm. So here's the Stony Silence.
Yeah.
And Karl obviously has the Nature's Claim, so it's going to even up things. And having is that like a Yu-Gi-Oh draw or something? I don't. Every time I see that, I think it's like from a cartoon or something.
I think he's doing it to show that he's only drawing one single card.
Okay.
As opposed to...
Would you do it 3 times for Brainstorm? Oh, wait, here we go. We got Orchard. So, and he played his third land. He played his third land before playing the Orchard, which I would prefer just keeping the Orchard in hand, because then you play the...
there are 3 confluences.
My bad. Oath. I keep saying Orchard. So my preference would be to play the Oath first. Don't play your third land, because then your opponent chooses whether or not to counter it. Yeah. Then you play your third land, and it's not actually for
unless you've got Flusterstorm or something. But I totally agree.
Yeah, just to be cheeky.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I noticed about Karl in game 1 is he used the Forbidden Orchid mana to cast the Oath of Druids, but I prefer giving them the token at the end of their turn, because if you give them the token, you think, this is the combo, Orchid and Oath, and I tap them, and here you go.
I've got it.
But then they can untap and, Jace unsummon the 1/1, which seems ridiculous, but, it's better than a Grizzlebrand.
Here's an ET, end of turn. So this is interesting. Anytime Brendan does some kind of tutor thing, I'm like, what are you going to pull out of your deck? Because there's going to be something that I've either never seen before.
How does he learn?
I know.
How does he learn what to search for? Who do you play test against, Brendan? I'm not saying the card choice is bad. I just don't understand how you know, because they're so complicated, your lists.
Yeah. Every time I see an ET, I'm like, okay.
Crucible of Worlds.
I feel like I only know one enchantment or one artifact. I'm like, I'm going to find that one or enchantment or artifact. But Brendan's got 15 different possible tutor targets here. So it's going to be really interesting to see what he fetches.
Even just Enlightened Tutor for something terrible like Mox, when you have to hit your land drop
or something
to go off. Obviously not in this scenario with the Stony Silence, but if you need to hit mana next turn to go off, then you can just lose the card advantage and say, yep, I'm guaranteed to hit mana.
Yep, absolutely. So let's see what he fetches. He's fetching Solemnity. Obviously, his deck fires on all cylinders when Solemnity is out, right?
It switches on.
It switches on
a lot of combos. Yeah.
So getting it now probably indicates I've got a third land, and I'm either going to play it now or I'm going to, there's a possibility he's just sandbagging that. He's searching it now, keeping it in his hand.
Well, he did that game 1. Yeah. He knew he wanted Unlife in his hand at some point, so he tutored for it early. When he didn't, obviously he puts it on top so you don't get the land to play it. So, not sure if that's correct, but I guess he's worked out I have to have Unlife in this match. Being mana efficient there.
And Spirit of the Lab. So he's pretty good. Well, you're gonna give me a token anyway, so I may as well have a 3/1 that stops you drawing cards.
Yeah. But Karl obviously doing the EOT here, Orchid.
Yep. So this is interesting. He can actually just not kill the Stony Silence and kill the Spirit of the Lab, because actually it's an enchantment.
That's a really good point.
And then you can cascade, flip over,
Oh, and he has. Nice.
Nature's Claim.
I think that's correct.
Yep. And then you get to flip over Grizzlebrand, and then you get to go to town. Oh, actually, no, sorry. Town will not be gone to.
What?
Because Stony Silence is out. So he'll just get Grizzlebrand and kill over the course of...
Still some men of town. Mind you, the difference between Karl's list and a normal Oath list is the cards he's drawing are Storm cards. They're not more control cards to solidify your Grizzlebrand and solidify your position. The majority of it is rocks and mana producing and searching.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got to think, what am I drawing with Grizzlebrand? If I'm not going to win off Storm, why am I drawing? Labman, that's really interesting. He's coming from sideboard, guys. So Labman says, if you don't have a library, you win. Pretty much. If you don't have a library and you have to draw another card or mill another card, you win. So the reason it's in there is because Oath can self-mill. So every time he triggers Oath, a huge amount of cards go from library to graveyard. And if he does this till it hits the end, he'll actually win. So, interesting there. Is that because he knows there's cards like Spirit which prevent him from drawing, or because there's cards like
Stony Silence,
Glacial Chasm?
Yeah. I think it's definitely like having yet another attack angle.
Yeah, it stops him from having to swing to win.
Yeah, he goes, I just go to my next turn.
He just has to keep
mill my deck.
That's it.
There is, and you can't lose to someone A-calling you, right?
That's it.
Because
very well played.
Yeah, that's right. Is that how it works?
Well,
definitely not the intended use.
No, well, Karl's been in the vintage community for a while now, and he's definitely an experienced player. And he's the reason he's playing Lab Maniac. I don't run it in my list.
Oh, there's the second Nature's Claim.
Nice.
It's pretty much GG's now.
I think so.
Because you could just you can mill with the Oath and get your Grizzlebrand, and now Storm out. Because you can have so many cards.
You can mill with your Grizzlebrand, and often you'll only have like a few cards left in your library, and then just draw and win Lab.
Yeah, that's it. A-call yourself.
A-call yourself wins, as opposed to A-call them.
Yeah, as opposed to A-call them.
And there's the Grizzly Man himself.
Yep. So Grizzlebrand is still in there.
Very nice. Is that a foiled out deck completely?
There's some mismatched ones, but it's close. Yeah, there's there's like a Judge promo Burning Wish, then there's an original Burning Wish. Like
it's a nice looking deck, Karl.
That's it.
It's all happening here. I like how he's got his graveyard sort of on the board, like how Dredge does it.
Yeah. The clearest way to see your graveyard.
It's relevant, isn't it?
So he has drawn 7 cards and gone to 8. And there are 2...
I'm fine with that now.
Oh, yeah.
Because the other thing is Lab...
when you get a win, when you don't have a Stony Silence out, and you can Storm out. Absolutely.
I'm happy with
Absolutely.
it. Absolutely.
So that Storm count is 1.
Lotus... this is done.
Yeah, GG's. It's a Christopher Rush signed Lotus, which gets super prop points. So that's Storm count 2. And
he's got a complicated deck, isn't it? For old Karl. I don't mean it's complicated for him, it's just a complicated deck.
In general. Anytime someone plays Lion's Eye Diamond in a deck, it usually means it's a complicated deck. I've seen so many people not know how Lion's Eye Diamond works.
There's a lot of lines.
Oh, look at this. So there's a Time Walk, and you see whether he took out if he sideboarded out the second Grizzlebrand, then he just wins on the spot, right? Because then he just mills his whole deck. But either way, it's GG's.
He wins,
he wins with the Time Walk. It's pretty moot there.
The scoop from Brandon. And we go to game 3. Brandon on the play, post sideboard.
Post sideboard, Brandon on the play. Again, I'm favouring Brendan here because of the amount of hate that can come out, like Stony Silence and all these other things. It's funny that I think in the main deck, Stony Silence is a one of, but then there's more on the side. Maybe. I'm not sure. I can't remember what the deck list has.
Well, he does have a lot of main board answers for Storm, like Phyrexian Unlife and Stony Silence and Flusterstorm.
That's it. And being able to ET for things, it's kind of like having 4 Stony Silences
it's good,
rather than 1.
But it's slow.
Yeah.
But Brendan runs Black Lotus and Moxen himself.
Oh, yeah.
So despite running Stony Silence, he still wants to power out some of that stuff. So, as equal as Karl could rip a turn 1 win, Brendan could rip a turn 1 hate piece.
Yes.
And now that he's on the play, I think it's quite good.
It's definitely very much like that, shops versus control kind of shops versus
who gets
Storm.
Ahead first.
Who's first on either the lock piece or the combo or something to get ahead with. So the interesting thing is Karl has been playing out cards like LED or the Mana Vault or those kind of cards, has been playing them out with the intention to use them the following turn or the turn after. Keep in mind that Brendan has Serenity in his deck. So sometimes you'll be regretting playing out that card because it will just get nabbed. It'll be casualty of war. Gets killed by Serenity when it flushes everything down the drain.
Right.
That's why I don't like putting my cards out.
And Serenity again is destroy all artifacts and
enchantments.
enchantments.
And it's in your upkeep, I think you destroy them. So, but I'm not saying that's exactly going to happen. But I'm just saying for those at home, if you have a habit of playing out one piece to kind of save mana,
Well, and
next
even
turn
for
or something,
Storm,
keeping your storm,
when
keeping
you
it
want
in
to
hand
keep your
usually
storm
better.
count up.
And you can brainstorm it away as well when you need to. But either way, I mean, there's a number of lock pieces that Brendan can deploy on turn 1, like Thorn of Amethyst, even Rest in Peace is sometimes a little bit.
I think Rest in Peace is really good.
It.
I think so.
That hand is a brief flash of a hand. Here's the Daze. Oh, Daze plus a Storm
plus the
Dig.
Storm
Force of Will.
Whoa.
Oh, what a hand. What a hand on the play. Oh, man. That's pretty savage. I mean, we'll see. But the thing is, this is a duress deck that Burning Long has duress. So you're not always safe when you've got that kind of stuff. So here's Black Lotus in response, fetch, and Daze the Black Lotus.
No.
This is exactly
nice.
why Brendan plays Daze. If the more people know about Daze in your deck, the worse Daze is.
That's exactly right.
But in a Vintage,
I wouldn't have played around Daze.
Exactly. You don't play around Daze in Vintage, and it gets you. And see,
He had
the
mana,
ability to play around it. So
no, but I totally agree. I wouldn't play around Daze, but you learn, don't you? And he hadn't seen Daze all match.
That's it. But he's got the turn.
Yep.
Out. Yeah, that's. I think Karl will be like, wow, I just deployed what? I got Dazed and then I got 4s. Like, wow, this is pretty savage.
And correct to Daze the Lotus, because obviously, once you've let Lotus resolve, they've probably
Daze is pretty bad.
There's a good chance they'll have floating mana when they go off.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have anything else now. He's got a bit of a bin for.
I mean, that was 4 cards. But now.
He had to pitch the Flusterstorm, of course, so he doesn't have Flusterstorm up, which is probably something he wants.
Yeah, absolutely. But dig through time in hand, and I didn't see the other cards, but obviously not all. Oh, it was a land because this A-Core was going to be big. Refueling after that war. Oh, yes, look at that. Pitches dig through time to Force of Will. Like, that's how much he respects an A-Call right now, because A-Call is going to... Like, if you don't let your opponent A-Call, basically you're saying, I'm going to time walk you 3 turns, all right? Because 3 draw steps. So
definitely.
that's why
and you're absolutely right. Dig. That would have been quite... It's still in the early stages where I think Karl has that advantage of just being able to go off with a massive amount of cards.
Yeah, you can't let them have A-Call this early. Later on, you know, it's a necessity that sometimes you just have to let them have it and let them draw not gas off it.
Yeah.
But here, anything you draw is going to be gas and going to pull them ahead. So, yeah, this is basically 3 time walk turns with a 1-1 beating.
But Brandon's missed his second land drop.
Yeah, true. Brennan's not been that fortunate with the land.
Isn't it
situation.
interesting? Even after such a great opener from Brendan, it's still scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's still terrified about...
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I mean, Necro or something like that here. Because that's the thing we think, Karl's hitting a lot of mana, etc. But he could just top deck. I mean, what has he got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He could just have land Yawgmoth's Bargain, right?
Yeah.
He runs Yawgmoth's Bargain.
Definitely a card. And he's played Ruby this turn. So obviously Storm Count is 1. Like, he's playing the Ruby because he's got, say, Windfall, or he's got Time Twist. He's got something in his hand.
Wheel of Fortune, something like that. He runs his cards.
Yeah. So like, he's not just playing it out for no reason right now.
And that's what Storm is, isn't it? It's a whole bunch of mana or a whole bunch of gas.
Burning Wish. So, what do you wish for? I mean, like, if
Show and Tell? What?
He
runs Show and Tell on the side.
Yawgmoth's Will.
That's quite nice. With Lotus in the bin and A-Call. I like that.
Lotus, like, the problem here is he has to choose
Burning
between...
Wish exile after it's played every time?
Yes. So he has to choose between whether he wants to cast Oath or whether he wants to cast A-Call. And here you cast Oath because Oath wins you the game, whereas A-Call maybe wins you the game. You know what I mean?
Has he played a land?
He has played a land.
There's not... Okay,
yeah.
I was about
Otherwise,
to say,
you get to do both.
You could do both, although it's risky. Yeah, I reckon I agree.
Yeah. Like, it's ballsy to try and go...
Because you're thinking, what if he counters the Oath? Yeah. But what if he counters the A-Call? It's exactly
A-Call.
the same.
Especially
in a... I don't think Brennan has mental missteps, but you could assume that he does. So I think...
Absolutely.
I think definitely Oath.
Definitely Oath.
And there we go.
Absolutely.
And he plays around days. And Foster Storm. Plays around days and Foster Storm, it's true. So, yeah, that's a burning wish for an Oath of Druids, right? I'd do that.
Yeah.
It's totally respectable.
When you got nothing else, you're just like, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to present the possible opportunity of winning.
Yeah.
So the 3 tokens are not going to do much, not when your opponent's at 16 and you haven't hit your second land drop.
Yeah, and it looks like I think he's missed it again, which is a shame.
Yeah, it's rough. It would, we could invent a variety of cool different ways for him to win if he had a second land, but on one land, it's kind of like, well, GG's.
Yeah, I think so. And look, it's exactly what we're saying. Brennan had a beautiful...
Off the top lab, man.
Brennan had a beautiful opener.
Just one card.
But all Karl needs is just one piece of incredible gas.
He has to draw a card for the turn.
Okay.
Yeah. You had... Karl flipped the lab man but didn't draw a card.
I did not know.
Yeah.
So what's he tutoring?
What do you get here? Because, does he get a Mox? Yeah, there we go. We're settling that. Draw a card for the turn. You get a Mox here just so you get your second land, and then you play whatever that second land hate piece is.
Yeah, I guess so. To be honest, Lab Maniac's
Rest in Peace doesn't do it.
Lab Maniac's not the worst.
Yeah.
I would much prefer Griselbrand if I was Karl, because now you can start changing some life totals, getting some gas. Lab Maniac actually gives Brennan one more split second of breathing room.
Yeah.
Grafdigger's
Cage.
Do not mind it, Brendan.
Yep.
I do not mind it at all. Very nice. The Lab Maniac can still do it, though, because you can still just mill, and Griselbrand will go to the top with Grafdiggers. So Grafdiggers reads cards or creatures can't enter the battlefield from graveyards, but the Oath will still trigger.
Yes.
So Oath will still put the cards in the graveyard, and then it's not like Containment Priest. Containment Priest would exile the creature. But the way that it needs to be played is cards get discarded, Griselbrand goes on top, Karl will draw the Griselbrand, and then I assume he'll just rinse and repeat, pass the turn, draw another Griselbrand because he'll do it again, and then he'll win via Lab Maniac's ability. So it actually, it's really good from Brendan. Gives him a couple turns.
Gives him like two turns or something like that to find. He doesn't run Swords to Plowshares, does he? But he can find something.
Yeah. No, I think that's really good, and it's disciplined as well, because you want to play to your own outs, but he's got to respect. Are they asking about the rules?
Yeah,
here?
They're just getting a ruling here on how it actually works, and so
it's complicated because a lot of the Oath hate pieces work in different ways. As I said, Containment Priest exiles, and Grafdiggers unfortunately goes on top. Yeah, so because you don't want to draw your Griselbrands.
No, that's you really don't want to.
I still think you
have to.
I think it's still correct for Karl to trigger it here. It's a bit scary because now he's all in on Lab Maniac, because his Griselbrands will be stuck in hand,
and his Your Will is gone.
So it's a bit scary, but I think this is the win. So but this is what you do.
If he brought in his Ancient Grudge, he can actually flip the Ancient Grudge.
That's a good point, but he can't play cards from graveyards as per Grafdigger's Cage.
Uh-huh.
Now
you have me there.
Have I ever Ancient Grudged a Grafdigger's Cage?
Now that I think about, no.
I have. Was it a mistake? Yes. But so, of course, Grafdiggers is an anti-dredge card as well as being an anti.
Do you like this? I like this smash in. Brendan doesn't attack with 3 the previous turn with Labman. This turn he does attack confidently, and Karl's like, "Oh, you might have something." Doesn't block. Yeah, don't block. I might have gut shot. So flipping over probably the rest of the library until the second Griselbrand.
There'll be one more Griselbrand.
And then it's like one more turn.
Yeah. Haven't seen any Dark Rituals from Karl. Oh. Haven't seen him cast them. They're definitely there. But I think there was a couple times where we were saying Dark Ritual would be pretty good here. So
absolutely.
Is that Griselbrand?
Dark Ritual into Necro. That kind of thing is definitely a legit turn 1. All the Dark Rituals are in the bin though now. So
they're not coming out anytime
How many
soon.
cards is that left in the deck? It's going to be really funny if there is.
Did he have the other Griselbrand in hand, or does he side out Griselbrand when?
Oh, one card. It's a single card in his deck, and that's Griselbrand.
No, it's Forbidden Orchid. He must have sided it out when he sided in Lab Maniac.
No.
Which makes sense.
Slow rolled the flip every card.
No, he had double Grizzlebrand in hand.
Oh, no. Wow, what a slow roll.
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty sure you just tell your opponent, I'm going to activate this, and I have no creatures in my
It was, and he really slowed down with the last 4 cards.
Such a slow roll.
And there's Brennan had the Gideon of the Trials, which says you can't lose while Gideon's out, which is quite good against Storm.
It's kind of like a reverse Labman.
Yeah.
Well, that was a pretty sweet game.
That was a good game.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for watching. We're Adelaide Eternal, and we'll see you in the next round.
See you then, guys.